think all the council meetings this year will be held in the evening at 7 o'clock via Zoom, as opposed to the usual format that we've had in the past in the morning. So hopefully we will be able to gather more people this way. And all of the meetings will be recorded and posted on the website. So people who haven't been able to attend can either access the website, and I believe we will also distribute it afterwards as well. So just while we're doing these Zoom meetings, just so everyone knows, we will not be taking minutes since it seems a bit superfluous, because the meetings will be accessible on the website. After we go back to in-person meetings, then minutes will be taken again. But until then, please just refer to the recordings if you have a question of what happened in previous meetings. So let us get started. Our first speaker today, I'm sorry? Did someone say something?
I will go ahead and mute people, but when you come in, if you could mute yourself, that would be very helpful. But go ahead, Margaret. I think it was just an echo from someone who was unmuted.
Thank you. I thought someone had a question. Okay, so Roy is going to start us off. Roy Montesano, our superintendent of the school, is going to start us off and tell us about the beginning of school and where the construction stands. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Hi, everybody. It's great to see everybody here, even if you are all virtual and blacked out and all those other things that I see. But thanks for joining us. Yeah, it's the start of school, but we are already a month through it, which is kind of crazy to think about. It's amazing that we're in October and currently in our 4th week of in-person school, which is a tremendous feat, I think, given everything that's going on. Knock on wood, we've been very lucky so far. We've had various people getting tested during different times, and nothing has come back positive. So we're very fortunate and thankful for that. I want to thank everybody for their patience. Is my time up? Patience and support as we've kind of gone through this. I know it hasn't been easy at home with the kids, and hasn't been all that much fun for us either, trying to plan for the impossible. But having said that, as you know, yesterday we started the 2/3 with the high school, and I think we're so far so good. I'll let Ann talk about that later. We try to put all those puzzle pieces together and making those schedules up and keeping everybody informed about which way to go and what days to come in and all that stuff. But overall, again, I think we're doing about as well as we can as a community. And I say that as a community because it really does take everybody to make this work. We're doing what we can in school, and I would just ask for your continued vigilance outside of school as well. When your children go home after school, in the evenings, on the weekends, please implore them to wear masks, because that's really the only thing that's the one consistent thing that we've heard over and over again, is the importance of masks and protecting your children, and therefore protecting the rest of us as well. So please continue to give us your feedback and your thoughts and ideas. We do take them seriously. We try to, we think we thought of everything, but I know we haven't. And other times people have great ideas, and when you bring them to us, we can at least try it out and see if it works or not. But now that we're in the 2/3 model, I think this is what we will be for a while. It allows us to have all our kids in school, and I'm sorry if I steal your thunder on this, but I thought it was really interesting that the kids were telling us, while we thought the hybrid model was going well, half and half, it didn't allow them to see their other classmates in person. And that was some really interesting feedback that we hadn't thought of. So now that they're in 2/3, they do get to see their classmates in person at least some of the time. So that's a great benefit for us. So we're hoping that it continues to trend in a positive direction for all of us. We know as the weather begins to get colder, it'll become more of a challenge with less kids going out and less perhaps outside use of outside. But we're going to try to use the outside as much as we possibly can. On the facilities front, the projects are coming along quite nicely. As you know, we've been using the cafeteria, and we've been using the innovation center. A lot of those areas. The health suite has been really just something that has been so great for us, especially during this pandemic. Hopefully one day soon, the parents will be able to come in and take a tour of all the new spaces. But the health suite is significantly larger than it was in the past. It has a series of, I don't know, 5 or 6 exam rooms, as well as an isolation area, which has just been invaluable to us during this time. And they're all being used and enjoyed by everyone. We have started using the Innovation Center yesterday. Thank you again to the foundation for their support of that. It's a really great learning space. Right now, there are only desks in there because that's what we need to put in there. But we do have the tables that are starting to come in. At some point, we will hope to transform that over to tables. And what we envisioned when we first planned the Innovation Center out, equipment starts to come in very soon. We'll get that set up for kids to use, even in greater function than they are now. Ventilation has been improved throughout the building. It still comes online. The chiller that will provide air conditioning to the first floor rooms is not quite done yet, but we do expect that to be done in the next couple of weeks. And the last large part of the project is the new atrium and guidance suite. I don't know if you had an opportunity to walk around the building at all, but if you go down Meadow, you'll see the outside of the atrium and the guidance suite, and it's really coming along nicely. It's going to provide, I just think, a super space for our high school students and a really grand entrance for them to come into. So that right now we expect, I don't know, I'm hoping by December that will be done. They're telling us January. We're trying to push them on that a bit. So I'm hoping by December that we'll have that in place and opened up for everybody. And as more spaces come online, we're going to reevaluate our facility utilization to see if we can come up with something else. So again, thank you for joining us. Thanks for your input and your involvement, and particularly your support and patience as we've all kind of grown through this together. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Roy. I agree. I think it's great that the kids can be back in school. I know I've been getting a lot of positive feedback from the kids that my son knows that they're enjoying being able to spend time together. So we're very lucky that we can do that. We're going to switch the agenda around a little bit because we're going to be losing some people midway. So next, Aaron Kind is our Director of Counseling is going to speak, and he's going to introduce our 2 speakers with respect to the Wellness Initiative. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I actually wanted to do maybe I'll just do a quick introduction of 2 of the new counselors who took time out of their evening. I know one of them's pursuing some graduate studies and hopped off one Zoom to hop on another. So Alyssa Zelikoff and Deanna Hassan-Jay-Kai are new to the district and the department, and I'm just gonna mute myself and allow them each an opportunity to just say hello real quick.
It's so nice to meet everyone, and it's been a wonderful start to the school year. Working with so many of your children has been incredible already, so excited for a wonderful school year ahead. Nice to meet you all.
Hi, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Deanna Hassan-Jay-Kai. I'm also really thrilled to be part of the Bronxville community, and luckily I've been welcomed with such open arms, and it's been really nice starting to see friendly faces, even though it's only on Zoom for the most part. But yeah, really looking forward to working with everyone this school year.
Awesome. Thank you both. I should add that Deanna is taking over Ann Abadicola's 9th, 10th, and 11th graders. So if you previously worked with Ann, you'll now be working with Deanna. And Alyssa is taking over a long line of previous counselors, but we'll just say she has Barbara students. So if you previously had Barbara Dine or Andrea Pelicane for the short time she was here, Alyssa is taking over that caseload. With that, I guess I will pivot to, I don't know that either of these gentlemen need an introduction, but Dr. Tom Viviano, the high school psychologist, and the Honorable Bill Meyer, history teacher extraordinaire, spent copious amounts of time this summer creating a transferable, asynchronous, online platform for the senior leaders to use with the freshmen as part of the freshman transition program. I'm not sure how deep they're going to get into it, but we are looking at other areas where this curriculum can be introduced to other students. But know that aside from this pandemic that we're all living through, this work was well thought out and well planned, and not so much in response to the pandemic, but really more in response to student needs and wants, and that actually includes parents' input as well. So I think with that, I'll stop fumbling for words and let you guys take over.
That's great. Thanks, Aaron. We appreciate that. I'm going to share my screen here, and hopefully everyone can see this. So yeah, we just want to talk a little bit about some of the work we've done, but also reframe it to move forward the conversation that maybe many of you heard when we spoke with the rest of the psychologists and guidance counselors about a week ago. So rather than necessarily focusing just on the work that we're doing with the students, we also thought it'd be valuable to talk about the work and the ways we see we can engage the community, and particularly parents, in supporting this work. And I think that would probably be most meaningful, and then obviously have a little time for questions at the end. So I'm just going to recap a couple things, and I think Tom and I really are a great team. You know, Tom has the background in a lot of the DBT pieces and the psychology, and I have a little bit of the mindfulness, although lately with my children, I'm wondering how advanced my training actually is. But in truth, also those deliverables in terms of trying to get this to land with students. So as we looked at this opportunity of going virtual, we also saw this as an opportunity to sort of reimagine ninth grade transition, freshman transition. And I see it, and we saw it sort of around these three components. One is the delivery of the information. So in the virtual setting, we're now able to have the students in more intimate groups of being partnered with one, I should say seniors, having one or two freshmen that they're responsible for, and then actually from those small groups developing into pods of 8 or 9 students, and then also bringing the whole class together for what we consider some of the more important topics and themes to present. So there's an evolution there. I think the audience is something we've considered as well. So there's a piece of this where we're working with the 12th graders, and I think everything that we're offering them around these skills, these components, study skills, distress tolerance, you know, compassionate listening, are pieces that they themselves can embody both as individuals, but also as leaders within the school, and then transfer those to the 9th graders. But we also are looking for later on to directly transfer these pieces to the 9th graders as well. So actually starting towards the end of October, about these pieces, so sort of layering the delivery. And then the third piece is sort of the materials in which we can offer this. Oh, I should say, as well as the parents, and including the parents in this work is so important. But also in terms of the materials, we have the virtual aspect. We're building out this website as we've been going, and then also aligning this work with readings, book studies, and parent workshops that we hope to have throughout the course of the year, aligning with the topics that we're introducing the students. So the role of the parents, and then I'm going to pass this over to Tom. How can we engage the community around this work? And there's always sort of, I think, things that are lost in translation when you're working with 14 or 15-year-olds about what actually is introduced and shared. It's always amazing to hear what students remember from a class or remember from a few years ago. So we definitely want to make sure that there's a component to this work where we're actually directly engaging with you. So one of the pieces is the book studies, and the Be Well Committee, I know, is hosting a book study on November 17th. This is actually one of the first book studies. We're looking to set up some speakers that align with the books, both authors and also the DBT topics that we're introducing to the students. We're also looking to pioneer a meditation series for parents that introduces some of the DBT skills that Tom's going to be talking about, but also provide sort of a meditation to support your own well-being, so that you can be in a place to be yourself, your best self as you're working with your kids and your children. And then thinking about really how these components sort of exist in our own lives: the mindfulness piece, the distress tolerance, the emotion regulation, interpersonal effectiveness, as well as the diversity and equity component. All of these are like sort of the 4 components, as well as actually study skills. I guess that would be a 5th, that we're looking to bring both to students, 9th, 12th, but also to the community at large. So I'm gonna pass it over to Tom to talk more specifically about these components.
Sure. Thanks, Bill. I think that was a great introduction, which is why I always ask you to go first, because you're really good at like sort of framing these conversations. But so we're sort of within this conversation and this presentation tonight. Obviously, we're not going to get into detail in terms of here are some things that we're going to be talking about, because it's sort of evolving over time. And I think what we touched upon before is when it comes to any sort of new initiative like this, it's always about setting it up in terms of, the way I see it at least, like a developmental progression. So we're starting with, for instance, with the freshman transition program, teaching the seniors some of the things that I'm going to be talking about in the next couple of minutes here with you, and how to impart that to the freshmen that they mentor. And then also seeing how this sort of evolves over time to include more and more content as we build this out. So I'm very excited actually, because this is my 2nd year in Bronxville, and I'm learning that there's just so much need for this one, but there's also so much interest in being able to help us bring all these ideas to life. So I really like speaking about this work out loud and welcoming further discussions as we go along. But I thought I would do, just in a couple of minutes here, is just kind of reflect maybe some ways that parents can reinforce what's going to be taught to, let's say, at this point, the senior or the freshman transition program, to the seniors, and then to the freshmen as we kind of build and build and build this out as the year goes on. So I thought I would just hit upon a couple of very basic suggestions, I'll put it that way, that you can sort of incorporate as parents to model and reflect what's being taught to the students in the school, and kind of start with that. So this first slide, I have if you notice, every title as we go along: modeling with intention, teaching, and reinforcing. I think as parents and as guardians, that's the number one skill. I think it's pretty, it's hard to pin down, but I think that intention of modeling what you think is working for the student, teaching and reinforcing, is critical. So I just gave some practical suggestions here. Obviously, this might be hard to incorporate, but when it comes to mindfulness, incorporating mindfulness practices in your daily family routines. There are a lot of resources on the internet that can help you in this regard, but some of the things that come to mind for me is, mindful meals. How often do we have dinner with each other or not? And how often do we kind of gloss over that part of the day that could very well be very meaningful in terms of intention, and connecting with one another in the family unit. And obviously, when we talk about mindfulness, it's all about participating fully in the moment, limiting distractions as much as we can. So for us, as adults, modeling, put the phone away, et cetera, all these things that seem pretty obvious, but they're hard to execute if you're not sort of intentional about it. Other mindfulness activities, planned walks, brief meditations, watching maybe even a video as a group in your house. Progressive muscle relaxation is really helpful. I think the bottom line, like I have in this final point, is whatever the activity, it really could be anything. It really could be anything. If you find like as a family, you have a certain interest and a certain focus, do whatever you do with purpose, focus, and intention. The idea is to be present and do that activity with the purpose of connecting and being true to yourself. And yeah, so thanks. So the next, distress tolerance, emotion regulation. So this is a broad group of skills. And this is sort of hard to capture in a couple of sound bites, but I'll try. I think the thing that we can all do as adults is try our best to model or describe, like I say here, successful or unsuccessful moments when you've handled a stressful situation or problem in your own life. I feel like for me, as when I teach a class around DBT like this, it's a lot of anecdotes, a lot of real life examples of this is what happened to me. I explain exactly what happened. I talk about it authentically, like this is what I was feeling. What did I do? What was the result, good or bad? Having those more explicit conversations, I think, go a long way in not only the student learning about or your child learning about what, you know, maybe more skillful behavior, but also you reflecting on how you handled it. And again, I think it's just really critical to model honesty, vulnerability, as well as, you know what, I tried this, it worked really well. I think that's really important. And then I know some of you probably heard me last year, and those of you who know me, I'm sort of a broken record, not to use another DBT term, but validation is critical. And I think we all know what this means. And I think that the trick here and the skill is actually being effortful and doing it. So we all know that it feels really good when someone recognizes how you're feeling before necessarily jumping into problem solving, right? It's our innate instinct to really say, how can I fix this, without first acknowledging, what are you feeling? Using language that maybe resonates, like, oh, that really sucks, right? Like, I'm kind of a big fan of that. Just being real and acknowledging the feeling first will get you so far in terms of figuring out how to communicate further and figure out how to problem solve the situation, even if it doesn't, maybe it doesn't even need a problem, a solution, so to speak. So that last point a little goes a long way. And again, I apologize for being somewhat of a broken record, but I think it's such an important skill that, for two reasons. One, it's so powerful, and at times it can be really hard. So I always go back to that.
And building on those pieces, and I think those were great suggestions. And I think just thinking as educators as well, that authentic piece and what we model often speaks much more loudly than actually the words we say. And just owning the anxiety of this moment that we're all in right now, and the vulnerability that we feel, and the uncertainty that presents, that exists in front of us. And you know, while those were always true, I think, in life, they're very poignant, and it seems like very present in this moment in a way that probably many of us in our own lifetimes have not experienced. And for these students in this huge transition in their lives, like this period of openness, I think what we model and how we move through this, it's almost as if we're returning back to this period of vulnerability ourselves when we were adolescents, can go a long way with them. And I think that was really reiterated by Tom. So just a couple of immediate things that maybe you're thinking about, and these are just tips that we've offered the students, but also you might think about with your own kids. The workspaces that they're in. And the reality is they're moving between a lot of spaces, and probably at home they used to be able to sort of default and be unintentional about where they were working, but really help them to be intentional. Like if they're working at the kitchen table, have them work at a seat that's not the same one that they eat at. If they're in their room, try to dedicate a space or a corner, not their bed. You know, if they can be looking out a window, any way they can connect with nature. And the reality is the more that they're on screens, often the more disconnected they are from themselves. And that grounding effect of being outside, feeling nature, just looking outside. I mean, there's just so much work around the benefits of that. You know, we talk about developing a strong foundation. We talk with the students a lot about this, but that goes around the organization. Like I would work with them around this idea of organizing the weeks ahead, prioritizing most difficult tasks first, breaking down some of the big ones. And there's a transition here, but more than ever, they are finding themselves ownerships of their own learning and this schooling in a way where before they can sometimes rely on being in the brick and mortar classes. I always say, you know, de-emphasize the outcomes, encourage the process. Nothing could probably be truer than the college process, which is in huge flux. You know, all the things we used to hang our hats on, the SATs, the ACTs, these are tests that just aren't available to everyone. You know, and colleges are trying to grapple with that. Even you probably have older children who are in college who are actually at home. So there's just so much fluidity, and probably more than ever, really emphasizing what they enjoy, the passion, supporting that rather than getting caught up in what they should and shouldn't do, because quite honestly, no one knows. The game's changing as we're playing it. Modeling your expectations, as Tom said, really like sort of setting aside devices or encouraging them to set aside their devices maybe 20 or 30 minutes before bed or when you guys are having dinner. And the last thing I always say is, I kind of say this to myself, it's sort of my new mantra, but really it's rather than be kind, be gentle and go slow. And that's what I tell myself a lot. And I think just slowing everything down, and this pandemic more than anything has sort of forced all of us to do that. There's real benefits to that. So, you know, we feel like this is a great opportunity to share these thoughts, and there is an opportunity in the midst of this moment we're all in. And I mean, it's just, you as parents, I know you're doing amazing work. I also know it's exhausting, and as teachers, like we're there too. So I think more than anything, this is a moment for us as a community to really come together and move this forward and this work forward. So thank you tonight. I don't know if Tom, you want to add any final thoughts?
Oh, no, I was just going to say thank you for participating in this, and feel free, obviously, if you have ideas on how we can keep continuing this work, which I think is so important. I think everybody who's here tonight would agree with that. Please reach out. I'm excited, like I said before, to really start something up and build momentum and keep building on this. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, you guys. That was really helpful. I mean, I've heard some of these ideas before, but it's always great to be reminded of and have it brought to the forefront about these things to think about. And then all the new ideas are really, really helpful. I was wondering, could one of you send me the PowerPoint? And then when I send out the recording, I can also attach it. So that can just be an additional thing for people to click on. That'd be so helpful. Thank you. Next, our principal, Ann Meyer, is going to talk about the recent transition to the 2/3 hybrid and just the whole processes of the health screening. So we're all current on what we need to be doing going forward.
Sure, thank you. Can you hear me? Because I know I had audio. Okay, good. Audio issues before. Let me know if you can't at any point. I just want to start, and I'll try to be brief, with a sincere thank you to so many people that are making the start of this year possible. Obviously, our faculty have done an absolutely tremendous job with a Herculean task of basically completely changing their instructional approach in a totally new environment, and engaging kids and keeping learning happening and keeping kids connected. So I just cannot thank them enough. I want to thank also, and I probably could do this every time we meet, the maintenance staff. I cannot tell you what it took to get, and I'm sorry if you hear this noise. For some reason, there's fireworks going off outside my window. So that's what that noise is, if you can hear it. I cannot tell you what it took to get our building in shape to be able to safely return to it. And just so you know, this past weekend, walls and offices were being removed from classrooms so that we could go into a 2/3 model. They're cleaning constantly. They're cleaning between cohorts. I mean, they're disinfecting PE equipment. we could not do this without the staff, maintenance and cleaning people that we have. So I really want to offer thanks and appreciation to them. And they're having a finale of the fireworks. I want to thank our students who I want to say have been phenomenal, followed our recommendations, wore their masks, came in. You know, this is not school as it used to be. As much as we all wanted to get back to it, it's not the same. But I think students have been really enthusiastic, even with the changes that have been made to be back. Obviously, it takes all of your support, as Roy said, and I'll reiterate some of the specifics of what that entails. So we thank you for your support at home. We thank you for all your support getting things in place. The foundation has been absolutely essential as well. So, I mean, it took a village. It continues to take a village to make this happen every single day. It's a lot of work, a lot of cooperation, a lot of coordination. And so thank you to everyone involved. So moving to the 2/3 model. So we started out with our hybrid. Well, we started out remote. That feels like a long time ago. Then we went to half and half, and you know, I just wanted to confuse people more. We've since moved to our 2/3 model, which started yesterday. I realize it's somewhat confusing, but Roy and I had some extensive conversations and gathered feedback. We feel like this is where we're going to settle for the time being until number one, more space becomes available from construction, and or number two, the health guidelines change and we are able to move desks closer together. At this point, we've really maxed out our spaces given the sizes of high school classes, which are different than middle and elementary because we have variation in classes due to electives, math, science choices, all sorts of things. So it's not as if I can take 125 kids and divide them up into sections. Section sizes vary, so that is why at 2/3 we pretty much reached capacity. I will continue to send out daily reminders, and I'm sorry if they're getting annoying. Feel free to delete them, but people I think do need them at this point because day to day it's just hard to remember who's going and when. So all I'm asking students and parents and guardians to do is remember what group they're in, and I will tell you where to be and when each day. Okay, great, good. I'm getting some positive feedback on that. As you've noticed in those emails, we do cancel classes when faculty are absent, and I just want to reiterate it's something I sent in an email, but we do not really have subs in the building at this point. Most of our subs were quite a bit older. Many are not willing or interested in returning to a school building right now. We have very limited subs, and so in the high school, as we've done in the past with APs and junior and senior classes, we will be having to cancel a class if a faculty member is not there. Work is online, so it's like a sub is there, a student can do their work when they're not going to that class. There is space in the building, so if your child is there for the full day and their C block class is canceled or their D block class is canceled, we do have the cafeteria, the library, etc. for them to go to. I'm not going to go too far backwards, but I do want to mention that we have had info sessions for clubs for 9th graders and anyone interested. Some of our clubs are on pause for now for a variety of reasons. Some because the virtual setting is just not conducive to the work. Some because some of our faculty, and maybe some of you are at this point, they are just managing to work in this new environment and get their classes done in an excellent way, and clubs they're not quite ready for at this moment. So we are giving them some space, and we'll see if we can revisit that later in the year. I did want to let you know that we are developing, I don't even want to say it, an X-block schedule, which will allow clubs to meet. I'm not even going to introduce it until we get through one cycle in this new model, but that's going to give kids it's going to take a little bit of time from classes and give kids a little bit of time extra so that clubs can meet. The reason we're doing this is we realize that transition period is packed. Kids are getting lunch, they're getting they're going home, they're coming into school. We can't really fit club meetings into that time. That's feedback we've gotten from kids. I wanted to thank everyone for a successful back to school night. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback. I attended my own children, actually my sons, my husband went to my daughter's back to school night last week, which was virtual. I actually loved it. I have to say, they could keep it virtual. We'll obviously gather more feedback for future back to school nights, but I thought it went relatively smoothly given the circumstances. I'm just going to spend a little bit of time on health screening and our health sort of return to school protocols, because there have been some questions. And then a couple previews coming soon, and then I'll be done. Okay, so every day you should be filling out a screening for each of your children, whether they are remote or coming to school. We need that screening every day. That is essential information for us. On that screening, it asks about a variety of symptoms. This comes from the Department of Health, and we realize that these symptoms are common symptoms of many different things, not just COVID. However, if a child exhibits any of those symptoms, please be honest, mark that they have exhibited one or more of those symptoms, and then that child is not to come into school that day. We will be notified that that was marked, and we will follow up just to find out what's going on. Now, once that happens, for a child to return to school, they need, if one of those symptoms is the reason they're out, they need either a doctor's clearance to return or a negative COVID result. So, we need to make sure it's not COVID before someone comes back, even if you become asymptomatic of whatever that symptom was. We realize that is, more cumbersome than in the past. That is just for everyone's safety. The beauty of the high school model is that your child does not have to miss class, they just attend class remotely. Now, let me clarify. We have students who are very ill. They need to rest. They need to take a sick day or multiple sick days. They should not feel obligated to attend class remotely. But that remote option is there if they have a symptom and they can't come to school because it's one of those symptoms on our health screening. If they feel like they can attend class remotely, they should do so. Now, we have run into some issues where people have kids, I tried to email everyone about this. They decided, I'm going to go to my afternoon classes remotely today. Maybe their parents knew, maybe they didn't. That is not okay. We can't have people randomly choosing for an afternoon or a class or Friday afternoon. Let's do remote. I don't feel like going to school. We can't do that. This remote option is really for people who choose it fully remote. We have a list of those people. Or you're home with a symptom and you feel like you can still attend class remotely. So please be aware. Also, if you go on vacation or travel, I don't know why that would be, but maybe there's reasons. You can't just have your kid attend school remotely from vacation. That's not the purpose of remote learning. So if you have individual questions, I can answer them. You can put them in the chat. But also you can always email me if you have a specific situation, and I'll get back to you. So we are, in essence, as Roy was saying, we do have people throughout almost every day getting COVID tests, not necessarily because they think they have COVID, but they might have one of the symptoms and they want to return to school. And up to this point, every COVID test that any individual, faculty, or students have taken, K-12 has come back negative. So we hope that continues. So I know that's been confusing, but that is how things are working. And yeah, that's good. Okay, a couple quick things, and then I can take questions. We do have Picture Day coming up next week. I will send a schedule. Fully remote individuals are also able to come for pictures. The pictures will be outside under tents. That's just for 9th, 10th, and 11th graders. I did want to let you know that Election Day School will be fully remote because the building is being used for elections, and given our current situation, we don't want students and faculty in the building when the general public is coming in. Although it is a very contained area, school will be fully remote that Tuesday. I'll send out reminders. And then finally, there apparently are rumors that, picture day is, I have to look at my calendar. Picture day is Friday, October 16th. And the day we're fully remote is Tuesday, November 3rd. There have been rumors that we potentially would close between Thanksgiving and December break. I don't know, I guess maybe other places are doing that because college students are coming home. That is not our plan. We plan to be open if we are able to be open. So I just wanted to clarify that as well. I think that's it. Sorry, that was a lot of information, but I hope it was helpful.
Thank you, Anne. With respect to Picture Day, one of the things we discussed earlier was if you are fully remote, you can come in at any point during the day to take your picture. There's no assigned time, whereas if you're in school, you'll be pulled out at the appropriate time. So for those people who are fully remote, just stop in on the 16th and they will find your form and picture.
And it'll be right outside the auditorium lobby, that outdoor area. And all of this will come to you in an email. I just wanted to mention it.
Okay, next, Joe Haven, our new director of athletics, will be giving us an update on what's going on with sports. And I know people have been having questions with respect to homecoming and game attendance, so he will be able to inform us about that.
Good afternoon, everyone, or good evening. Thank you for attending. So we've had a lot of information come out in the last couple of days. Dawn, my assistant, and I will be sending out an email detailing all the information, but I'll give you a brief synopsis on some of the more important factors. First one is spectators. So Section 1, which is our governing body of Section 1, has determined that only home spectators will be allowed to games, meaning our families cannot travel to other schools to watch our students play, and other schools can't come to our school to watch their students play. Also with that, only allowed 2 spectators per player. So basically they want around a 50-person maximum in the spectators at each game. So what we're doing, we're gonna have a COVID protocol that will get emailed home to you. You'll all be able to see it. I believe it's gonna be sent through Infinite Campus and it'll go to everybody in the district. But we haven't spelled out how we will do that. So just for a couple ideas, working with our security people, a couple brief changes. Basically, the athletic facility outdoors will be locked down and there'll only be 2 entry points. And those entry points will be right off Midland Ave by the concession stand and then directly across from that on Meadow. Besides that, all the other gates will be locked. And at those 2 locations, we'll have a table set up and a supervisor. And when you arrive to a game, we will email you a COVID screening form. You can have it filled out when you arrive, or you can fill one out when you attend the game. And we'll check that off, make sure you're fine. And also, too, we'll do a temperature screen when you get there. Once you pass that, we're going to put a wristband on you, and you're good to go and watch the game. Wearing a mask, obviously, is very important, and social distancing at the games is obviously very important. So you won't see the traditional amount of spectators at our games, but parents of the children who are playing, they will be able to attend. I know that in the past, take soccer, for instance, the boys would come over and support the girls and vice versa. But that's not allowed this year. One very important thing we're doing too, even though we have 2 fields side by side, if a scholastic competition is going on inside Chambers or on Hayes Field, the other field will be shut down to the community. Our own children can practice, but outside organizations will not be able to practice during those times because we have to stop the flow of traffic during the section-wide athletic events. So please keep that in mind. I think something very important that many of our parents don't realize is at this point, I know it's a little bit ahead of us, but it can come quickly, indoor sports have not been approved yet. If you look at any calendar, Section 1 has a start date for all the winter sports. The start date currently is November 30th. But we will get guidance by December 30th from Governor Cuomo if that will happen. So as you can see, the section is really hoping that we are going to start on the 30th of November, but Governor Cuomo has stated he'll let us know by December 30th. So that's where we are. So parents, I had a couple of basketball parents call and a couple of hockey parents call. At this point, indoor sports are not approved. The only sports that are approved are current ones that we have going right now, which are the soccers, field hockey, and cross country, and tennis. Until we get to the spring, those are the only sports we have that are allowed to participate right now. So that's good information to have. One thing about busing, so we will still bus our athletes, just so you know, when the buses arrive to bus our athletes to practice our competitions, we are going inside first, we're disinfecting, so your students may come home and say, well, the bus got there, but we had to wait a few minutes. When the bus arrives, our maintenance guys go on the bus, they spray it down, the bus driver gets off, we have to wait for 10 minutes, and then we're able to get back on the bus and go to our game. One thing the school district has decided to do, the school district has decided with permission from a legal counsel to allow parents to drive their own children to the games if they don't feel comfortable on the bus. Only problem is, parents, that if you drive your child to the game, you really can't stay and watch. So that's going to be up to you, but we are providing the transportation to the games. One thing I did notice, so we've had so much excitement the last week and a half because practice is going on. We started our intramural program for the modified sports right now, which not many schools are doing, but we have great participation in that. But one thing you must speak to your children about. Please strongly encourage them not to take that mask off. Section 1 rules dictate that whenever you're within 6 feet of somebody, in order to play a sport, your mask has to be on, and that's in a competition or a game. So as we're walking around, and Danielle, our trainer, and I are walking around, the majority of students do have their masks on. But we will say to a student, if their mask is down, hey, put your mask back up. Now, if a child comes off the field and they're social distance 6 feet apart and getting a drink of water, they can feel free to take that mask off and get a drink, get some nice fresh air. But when they get back in any kind of a team situation, a group situation, that mask must go back on. And I know it's hard to understand, but they are going to be playing games with their masks on. That is a rule from the state. We have to play that. And all youth sports are supposed to be doing that also. Not many youth sports are following the rules. So if your child isn't a youth sport, when they come on campus, and it may be Eastchester Youth Soccer or the BYLA or Pop Warner football, when they come on campus, they're supposed to have a mask on. That is the guidance from the state and the DOH considering health for youth athletes and youth recreation sports. So please keep that in mind. A couple things we are working on. So just so you know, at this point, Athletic Council, we've had some great conversations, and that's Tricia Riley and Cindy Randall are the leaders of that right now. If you want to get involved with athletics, they're two great people to get in touch with. But just so you know, for the fall right now, Bronco Fest is taking place, but very small. That's just basically the senior parents are going to come in and watch their athletes play, and that's it. There really is no homecoming in the fall. We're hoping in the springtime we can do something in the spring if we're allowed to, but as of right now, there are no mass gatherings. So please keep that in mind. We are really working on our first games. We're opening right up this weekend with soccer. Senior day, first game, senior day. We're trying to get the appreciation towards the senior athletes and their parents. So we're doing that right away. One great thing our district has taken part in, and I think it's being new here, it's a great opportunity. All our games that are home will be broadcast on Local Live. So in the email we send out, there will be a link for all of our games. You can watch our games. We'll also put that link on the website. So any game that you'd like to see, they will be broadcast live. And those are games that are taking place on Chambers and on Hayes. And also, if we play in the winter, in the gymnasium also. And I do believe the foundation had part of that purchase for those cameras. So that's much appreciated. Speaking of the website, we are transitioning in the process right now of transitioning to a new website for athletics. I'm going through training tomorrow and Thursday on it. And then Dawn and Anthony Valica will also be taking part in that. So we are trying to transition to a new website. It's the same company that runs our district-wide website, but we're transitioning to that. So we're hopefully that we'll have some more great information on that website for you. Within a week or so, we'll start adding more and more information on that website for you. We're trying to make it more user-friendly, and we're trying to really hit hard with communication. it was a little bit more difficult on the last website, so we're trying to upgrade our webpage, and we have the opportunity to do it, so we're very excited about that. I know I blew through a lot of things very quickly, but I just want to let you know that being on campus the last 2 weeks has been outstanding. I mean, it's been great from day one, but for athletically, the last 2 weeks have been so much excitement outside. If you happen to stop by or walk by or drive by, we have so many kids participating, and all their masks are on, and truthfully, they don't care. They want to participate. So we're very excited about that, and hopefully, hopefully if your children are playing, you have an opportunity to come down and watch a game. But if not, the games will be on TV. And you see, we're starting to hang our banners up outside. Teams are decorating them, and Anthony's doing that with Athletic Council, so it's been outstanding. So if you have some excitement about athletics, we're very excited about everything going on, and hopefully your children can get involved. And remember, we have a great program. If you have a child in the middle school, we're offering this year for the first time middle school intramurals right now. And so that's 5 days a week. We have a program going on after school outside 3:15 to 4:15 right on Hayes Field. And the sports that are offered are sports that we're missing. So soccer, football, cross country, field hockey, and we're also doing the phys ed games. So those are all things that your children can participate in if they're in 7th and 8th grade. And if they're able to participate in physical education, they're able to participate in our intramural program. And all the information will be emailed out. It was already emailed once to you, but it's all gonna be right online. So you can see that information. You can call the office if you have any questions about it. But as long as your student is able to participate in physical education classes, they can participate in our intramural program. Thank you.
Joe,
Sorry,
there's a question on the chat. It's asking if the tennis matches will also be broadcast.
Tennis matches will not, and the reason why that is we don't own the facility down at the tennis courts. Just like originally we talked about having games from Scout, the baseball fields done, but since they're public places, we don't own them. We can't participate in having any kind of games broadcast from those locations.
Okay, there were actually a couple other, did anyone else have a question for Joe? No. Okay, there were a couple questions that were directed at Anne that I didn't see in this now.
Sure.
The first is, when is the high school picture day? And that is Friday, October 16th. So next Friday. Make sure your kids have something to wear. And for you, someone wanted to know, it says on the COVID questionnaire, it asks if the student has been in close contact with a confirmed or suspected case. What is considered a suspected case?
Right. So I think that would be a situation where an individual, your student maybe has come in contact with someone who's been in close contact, maybe a family member of someone who has tested positive. So they're a suspected case. Now, that you have to kind of use your judgment on that one. When we're talking about close contact within the building, it's more than 10 minutes within 6 feet. So if there's someone that your child is interacting closely with who has maybe close friend has been with someone who's tested positive, that would be the suspected case. So taking extra precautions there just to keep everyone safe is very helpful. I hope that answered the question, Juan. So great, thanks.
And if anyone else has any other questions, feel free to type them into the chat. Now that I'm aware that I should be looking, we will try to address them promptly. So
I have a question, just one question. If my child has sore throat, and the sore throat is not one of the signs or symptoms listed. It is?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, but what we did is we went to the doctor and have him tested, and it's negative. So
Sure.
we're not sure, but we just did it just to be so that he can go back to school.
Yep, that's perfect. So either that or the doctor indicates that it's not COVID and they write a note, your child can come back. A couple of things that I didn't mention, if your child suffers from allergies, for instance, or let's say migraines, where regularly these are things that your child has, if you do get that documented by the doctor and get that to us, you would still want to answer honestly on the survey if your child has a migraine or a runny nose from allergies, but then you can, because we have that documentation, it's the same thing with faculty, your child could still come to school with that symptom if that's what it's related to. So for some of your children who have things regularly that would be considered COVID symptoms, it may be worth getting medical documentation on file. So that's just one other piece of info.
That's very good information.
Okay, thank you. So I actually wanted to introduce the rest of the Executive Council to you, and then we're going to be hearing from the different grade chairs and some of the committee chairs for anyone who wants updates on those areas. So first, I'd like to introduce you to Amy Weiser. She is the vice chair this year and will be taking over next year. Joanne Jones, who is our secretary this year. And I don't know if you guys want to say hi so that you pop up so everyone can see you.
This is Joanne Jones. I have stitches in my mouth, so I'd rather not be on camera, but I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
And Larissa Modisett is our treasurer this year.
Are you on mute?
Okay. I'm looking at. Oh, someone's asking about when the ACT results will be available. And
yeah,
Aaron,
sorry. It's going to take a few weeks. The ACT said 4 to 6. So when I get to school tomorrow, I'm going to box them up and get them over to them, and hopefully not too many schools tested today. Today, and it comes in closer to 3, but you will actually be mailed results, so you'll know at the same time that we find out.
and I guess the corresponding question would be the SAT test that the kids took about 2 weeks back.
The SAT we administered on the 26th, if my memory serves me correctly, and they said the results would be out on or around October 15th for those results. And just in case, I wasn't going to mention it, but we did this, and then I'll stop. We did this because at the time when we set this ball in motion, a lot of the test centers were closing in the area. And luckily, for a lot of different reasons, it seems like that's not the case anymore. So as long as sort of the trend continues in that direction and tests are offered on Saturdays at national test centers, we will not be redoing this in the spring, in case anybody's wondering about that.
Well, as a mother of a senior, I reiterate, thank you so much for having done it. It gave a lot of us a lot of peace of mind. So I'd like to introduce you next to your 9th grade chair. So anyone who has a 9th grade child, you have 2 chairs, Laura Wilmot and Katie McGrath.
Hi, I'm Katie McGrath. I am 9th grade chair with Laura Wilmot. I have a 9th grade boy, Connor Andrews, who has been very excited to be in school full-time today. He got a lot of positive feedback, so I really am very grateful that you guys were able to do that. And so there's not much to report. We're going to reevaluate what the activities the 9th graders can do in the next few weeks. But we're very excited to be with the 9th graders this year.
Okay, next we have the 10th grade chairs, Jen McGrath and Sarah Clifford.
Jen, I don't know if Jen, if you're here, but I'm Sarah Clifford. I'm about to put my video on. I have 3 children in the 10th grade, and just joining Jen as the 10th grade chair. Again, we don't have that much to report at this point either, but we will look forward to working as the year goes on.
Okay. Next are the 11th grade chairs. We have 3 of them, Kelly Dolan, Edwina Stolmarsky, and Jenny Sullivan.
Hi, Margaret. Hi, everyone. I'm Kelly Dolan. The 11th grade does have a fundraiser coming up, and we're working with Bespoke Education, which is the tutoring services here in town. And they've generously offered to offer our students, our 10th graders, 11th graders, and any seniors that would like to take the mock online tests. The mock SAT will be offered on October 31st. This will be done remotely. 9:45 to 1:30, and the mock ACT will be November 7th, also 9:45 to 1:30. In order, if you haven't seen the flyer, feel free to reach out to me, but you just have to register at Leakline, you email Leakline at Bespoke, and each test is $35 per test, and that payment can be made to me through Venmo, or you can drop a check off at my house and made out to Bronxville UFSD. But any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm happy to help, and thank you for Bespoke. And I'll pass it over to Edwina.
Hi, I'm Edwina Solomersky. I'm meeting with the 11th grade chairs tomorrow to talk about t-shirts. Obviously no homecoming, so no homecoming shirts this year, but we're going to discuss maybe having some other theme, perhaps to boost some school spirit. So we'll keep you posted about that. That's all.
Okay, great, thank you. And then we have our 12th grade chairs. We have 4 of them. Jean Sandi, Cindy Randall, Jay Moynihan, and Michelle McBride.
Hi, everybody. I'll speak on behalf of the 12th grade chairs. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It is, obviously a challenging year for all the students, and I think our seniors particularly feel it. But the school's been wonderful, and we met with Ann Meyer, and she has graciously said that the school will allow for the seniors to do their annual Halloween dress up. So there's going to be some more details about that. That'll take place the end of the month. We're hoping to find, the best day we can and have it outdoors and in masks, and have a little contest with the elementary school. And then Beth Algarabi, who is our senior teacher liaison, is working with the senior leaders on more details, and also, what we can do throughout the year to honor the seniors, and how the second half of the year, which is when most of the senior activities take place, and we'll see how that will pan out. We're thinking for senior week, it'll probably be some sort of combination of Zoom and maybe some in-person. So for now, the seniors have the Halloween dress up to look forward to, and contest, which is always a really fun day for them, and also fun for the elementary school kids. So thank you for all the support to the administration.
Okay, thank you, Cindy. And then we have our committees. I don't know if they want to speak, so I'm just going to call them out, and if you have something to say, please share, and if not, I will. A moment of silence and I will move on. We have our Bold Committee, chaired by Margaret Major, Nancy Yu, and Neve Hartnett. Okay, just to highlight, there will be a Welcome to Bold meeting on October 14th at 7 p.m. via Zoom. I don't believe the information's gone out yet, but it will be distributed school-wide. So if anyone's interested in attending that. Our Be Well Committee with Jen Redmond and Jen Homeyer. Did you guys want to speak about the All School Read?
Yes, that would be great. I think Jen and I just want to thank all of the wellness committees. First of all, we're so excited about the wellness work being done throughout the school, and so thankful to both Tom and Bill for their amazing work. I honestly feel that the wellness is the oxygen that our kids need before they can do anything else. And that said, I think tonight Bill and Tom both highlighted that we as parents need to put our oxygen mask on first before we can assist our children. And that said, Be Well this year is going to try to focus on highlighting independence and resilience in our kids during this really anxious and unpredictable time. And so Bill alluded to the fact that here we go, have an all-school, I loved that he called it an all-school book study, How to Raise an Adult by Julie Lithcote-Hames. And this is available at Wumroth right now, and we really encourage you to read it. Jen and I have found it really enlightening, and I really honestly wish that I had read it 10 years earlier. And we'll be discussing it on November the 17th. And Jen, what else would you like to add?
As a base, after you read this book, your kids will do more chores.
Yeah.
That's the point to it. Like, I'm telling you, like your kids are going to do laundry and you're going to thank us for it. So read the book, and we're going to have a great time discussing it at each school level. And we're going to be coordinating with Tom and Bill throughout the year to bring you information that will parallel what the kids are learning in school. So for, healthy, happy families. So thanks so much.
Oh, and Jen, because you just said that, Julie Lithcott Hames is actually speaking at a parent convention tomorrow. You can watch her for free. Happily Family is hosting a convention, and if you guys want, I think you've already received email on the link to the conference. If not, go ahead and please email me and I can get you the link.
And she's Jen Homeyer, in case you don't know her.
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. Jen Homeyer, Jen Redmond, and we both have 10th grade boys, and we both have boys that have just graduated out.
Thank you. And I was planning on reading the book anyway, but now that I know my children will do laundry, it is a done deal. The youth council, I don't know, is Christine Tormey in the meeting? Okay, no, she wanted me to report that the youth council is off to a great start. Plans include virtual play groups with children from West Hab, lunch buddies with special needs students at Bronxville, and other volunteer opportunities. The contact information, if you are interested, if your kids are interested in doing community service work, is in the agenda. They are Annabelle Krause and Maeve Sullivan, and their emails are on the agenda in case you need to reach them. Just a couple pushes. I don't know if Victoria or Tempe want to speak, but membership update with respect to membership toolkit, please sign up for a membership toolkit so that you can get our announcements, but also please join the PTA. Our fundraisers are really falling by the wayside this year because we cannot gather. So the dues will be very helpful this year, but also it really supports the organization. Beth Ahern and Reiko Wagner are in charge of Membership Toolkit. They've been doing an amazing job this year. So thank you so much for your help with that. And again, if anyone has not signed up for Membership Toolkit, just so you know, you will not receive PTA emails unless you sign up for Membership Toolkit. The database that the school sends out to and the database that the PTA sends out to are different. We do not get access to the full school database. So there are cracks. If you haven't signed up for Membership Toolkit, please do so. And if you are already a member but have not updated this year, please do so, because if your information is not updated, you automatically get put on hold and you will also not receive PTA emails. And then the Bronxville Foundation, the contact people for us this year are Lansing Martinelli and Juan Jaricchio. So if anyone wants more information about that, please reach out to them. And then we have just our upcoming dates, keeping in mind that next Monday is Columbus Day and there will be no school, virtual or otherwise. Again, the 16th is Picture Day for the 10th and 11th graders who are interested in doing the PSAT. That will be on the 28th, and you need to register for that. So don't just assume you can come. Make sure you pre-register for that. And then counseling has asked us to remind everyone, we'll remind the 11th grade that there'll be a post-high school planning kickoff on the 29th and a college admissions case study on November 12th. But I'll remind you about that one again at our meeting on November 10th, which is our next high school council meeting. Again, I know my name is wrong on the Zoom, so my name is Margaret Wang, W-A-N-G, and if anyone needs to reach out to me, you can email me at hscouncil@bronxvillepta.org, or even easier, 212margaret@gmail.com, and I'm happy to hear about anything that's going on in the high school if anyone has any issues or questions, or if there's something I can help out with. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight. I know I just rattled through a bunch of stuff at the end there. So if anyone has any questions, reach out to me, but thank you for joining us. It's a little over an hour, but I think we covered a lot, and it was really nice to see faces and names and knowing that we're all getting together as a community. So
Thanks, Margaret.
thank you. Have a great night, everyone.
Bye,
Thanks,
everybody.
Margaret. Thank you, Anne.
Thanks, everybody.